say in South Africa?
Sambona!
So Sambona means hello in Zulu, which is one of the 11 official languages in South Africa. And we're going to talk about South Africa today. A typical view of Africa is that people view Africa as one of the poorest continents. Because on television, the only thing we see from Africa is like extremely skinny kids and people living in poverty.
Yeah, and we also see a lot of charity cases where they're collecting money for water, food, education for the kids in Africa. So that has probably affected people's vision of Africa.
As a result of our view as Africa as poor, we often tend to think that they're missing developed technology, like they live in huts made out of faces without electricity or running water. We think that they don't have modern transportation, and only the most fortunate can afford a bike.
I think that even though the population is poor, there are rich leaders who take the money from the poor population.
Because of the colonial history, I think many African people has been oppressed by the white rulers. We can especially associate racism with South Africa, because of the oppressing apartheid system. Also, many slaves were from Africa, which has led to us thinking they've always been subjected to racism.
And we also think about Nelson Mandela, since he's been one of the most iconic leaders in the fight against apartheid and racism. And he's especially famous in Norway because he has received the Nobel Peace Prize.
We also see Africa as a multicultural society, despite that it's a really big black population. It seems like countries like South Africa are very multicultural as a result of their colonial history, where a lot of tribes were separated and then developed individually.
I think that a lot of people associate wildlife with Africa because we see a lot of programs about nature and wildlife on TV. And if you go on a vacation to Africa, what you do is normally go on safari or something like that.
Yeah, and because of the wildlife and nature we see on TV, we think that Africa has a hot and dry climate.
That's true.
We're going to answer another question, which is if we see it differently now that we've learned a bit more about the continent. After watching the Reggie Yates documentary about white ghettos, I learned that not only black people are struggling in today's South Africa, but also some white people. Sometime later, we saw some statistics that confirmed our previous impression that white population is a privileged minority. So I think that if you learn more about this topic, then you see that it's more like nuanced. It's not only just black or white. It's more like, yeah.
That's true.
They aren't as poor and low-tech as we first thought. The South African economy is actually going pretty great, even though the wealth is unevenly distributed. South Africa has one of the strongest growing economies in Africa because of their part in the mineral and diamond industry. When you see pictures of some of the cities, there are skyscrapers and typical shops and fast food restaurants like McDonald's.
That's true. We also learn about something called black diamonds, which are rich black men, often young. Even though the blacks are doing worse than the whites, there are a few black people that are doing great and are considered upper class. Those are called black diamonds.
And I think that on the topic of corruption, our former view was confirmed because the president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, has newly been ruled by the highest court that he acted dishonestly over state spending on his private mansion. And this just confirms what we thought about corruption, that there is a lot of corruption in Africa, and
yeah, we also talked about racism, and after apartheid, Nelson Mandela said that the blacks would forgive the whites and that they wouldn't be punished. And after a while, the black people and white people learned to blend, and there was less racism after that. Yeah.
But some people still hold a grudge. We read a news article about a man killing a black woman's husband, who was a former leader of an anti-apartheid group. 20 years later, when the murderer was granted parole, the woman was still mad. The judge told her that she should move on like they did after apartheid and forgive, but she couldn't.
Yeah, we're first gonna talk about the history. We went briefly through the history behind apartheid and wars during the colonization and how it came to be. So some of the earliest ancestors to human beings lived in South Africa 2.5 to 3 million years ago, until the Europeans discovered the country in 1488. African tribes lived there without being affected by the Europeans. In the 17th century, the Dutch invaded the country and they started colonizing it, and the colonization continued in the following years with brutal wars against the local tribes. And in the 18th century, the British came to power through wars with the Dutch Boers and the local tribes.
They were under British rule until 1947, when they gained their independence. Just a year after, the gruesome segregation system apartheid was introduced. Apartheid was a system specific to South Africa which separated the population into different groups based on their ethnicity, where the white minority were on the top of the social ladder, which meant better economy, being richer, more educated. They also had separate buses, separate schools, and separate hospitals. In the 1980s, the international society put pressure on South Africa, slowly leading to abolishment of the regime in 1994.
South Africa has a multicultural society. There are a lot of different indigenous groups, but also different groups of people who originate from other countries, like the UK, Netherlands, India, and many other countries. During apartheid, the population was divided into 4 different groups: black, white, mixed, and Asian. The majority of the population is black.
We also learn about languages. Due to the diversity in the population, there are many different languages which are spoken in South Africa. In fact, South Africa has 11 different official languages, and most important are English, Afrikaans, Zulu, Xhosa, and Tswana. Afrikaans is mostly spoken by the whites, while Zulu and Xhosa are languages mainly spoken by the black people.
A leader in one of the slums in South Africa claimed that you can cure AIDS by having sex with a virgin. This might sound crazy to us, but people there are very low educated and most people are religious, so that makes it a lot more believable. And this has led to more rapes. Every 20 seconds, someone in South Africa is being raped.
Wow.
That's a lot. And we will also learn where South Africa is. South Africa is located at the southernmost tip of Africa. The country can be divided into 2 zones, the highlands and the coastal areas. The highlands are mainly plateau, and most of the big cities are located along the coast, both Cape Town and Durban. This is where most of the population lives, and it's the greenest area. We also have learned more about the general economy. We used to think that the white and black people were economically equal, but we learned that the majority of the black population still struggles. There isn't a lot of racism, but statistics show that the whites earn more money than black, Asian and mixed race people, even though the whites are a minority.
What do you think it's like living in South Africa today?
Well, I was in South Africa when I was 8 years old, and even though it's a long time ago, I still remembered some differences, and one of the biggest differences was, I think, was criminality. Because when we were in South Africa, and especially in big cities like Johannesburg, where they really struggle with this, we could not wear any jewelry, and my parents had to take off their wedding rings because this could easily attract thieves and unwanted attention. And also I've heard that there are a lot of gated communities where there are like guards watching, and you have to increase the security.
And I've heard that it's more difficult to be female in South Africa because the equality between the sexes isn't as good there as in Norway.
Yeah, I also would think it would be kind of difficult to be white in South Africa because of the apartheid system. Maybe the blacks are a little bit mad about what happened. And I've also heard from the Ricky Yates documentary that South Africa is trying to employ more black people than white people.
Yeah.
And white people earn more money, and more white people are actually have work.
Yeah, and I think that it's really hard to be black too, because many of the black people in South Africa live in big slums, and they grow up with poor education. It's like that really makes it harder to get away from the slums and into a more wealthy lifestyle. So I don't think the social mobility is very high.
Yeah, so even after apartheid, black people still struggle
Yeah,
economically.
And also it will be difficult just learning the different languages.
Yeah.
We can speak English pretty well, but
It's
Afrikaans would be
slightly
difficult.
it's slightly different, and I think it would be hard to like switch between English and Afrikaans.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
and
true.
I also think that the different like ethnic groups in South Africa are very like separated, and this is something we're not very used to in Norway. So in South Africa, for example, like those who have like English as their first language and those who have Afrikaans as their first language are like not very good friends. Yeah, I think that we would be seen as tourists.
So we defined as typical white people.
We're now gonna have a little contest with South African slang. We're gonna test our knowledge of this slang.
And see if we can guess what the words mean.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first word is bass.
Bass.
I think
Maybe that could be like a guitar or something.
yeah,
like a bass.
bass,
Yeah.
either bass or boss.
Yeah, maybe something. Yep.
Next word is nooit.
Nooit. Maybe that means like no or something.
No, yeah.
Clap.
Yeah, the first things that comes to mind is clap.
Yeah, I clap, but I have a feeling that it's not
No?
clap, because that would be too obvious.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe slap.
Is bra.
Oh, as a
Good.
Norwegian, I think good.
Yeah.
And maybe, oh, good.
Yeah, good.
That's
Or bra, like.
Yeah, that's true.
Janne.
Janne.
Janne,
Janne.
I'm
Jan.
no clue.
maybe.
Yeah.
Dagga.
Dagga. Maybe like dang it.
Yeah, or like dagger.
Eina.
Ina. I instantly think about
No
like
idea.
something anal or something.
Chugga.
Chugga.
I think that's like chunk.
Yeah,
Like
chug,
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 chug.
chug. The first word is shangalulu. What do you think it is?
I have absolutely no idea. I think it's like
Sing, maybe.
Mzani. What do you guys think?
Mzani.
Mzani.
I think lasagna, but I don't know.
Lasagna. Yeah.
But I don't know.
You're not
Maybe
right.
it's like a food dish in South Africa or something.
Mzani. I think it's either a place or I don't know.
It's chila. What do you guys think?
Chai latte.
Yeah. Like
First word, second one.
yeah, like it's here.
That was it
That was
for
our
our vlog today.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Please,
watching.
if you like the video, please
Subscribe.
Okay, bye bye.